He was 21 years old. He stood at the door of his home. His mother was crying. His father put his hand on his shoulder. They said goodbye. He picked up his bag, and he walked away. The plan was simple. He would be gone for 2 months. He would travel to Mecca. He would complete the Hajj, and then he would come home. That was the plan. He did not come home for 29 years. Hello, my friends. Welcome back to Timeless English. I am so glad you are here today. Today we tell the story of the greatest traveler who ever lived. Not Christopher Columbus. Not Marco. A man from Morocco. A man named Ibn Battuta. A man who walked 75,000 miles. A man who visited 44 countries. A man who met sultans and slaves, saints and sailors. A man who survived shipwrecks, deserts, plagues, and pirates. And a man who almost nobody in the Western world knows today. But in the Islamic world, his name is legendary. And after this story, you will never forget him either. If you are new here, welcome to Timeless English. Every week we bring you a powerful story from history, told slowly, told clearly, so you can improve your English while you travel through time. Please subscribe before we begin, because this journey is one you will not want to miss. Tichi Bowai Farndayar, the city of Tangier, Morocco. 1304. A boy is born into a family of Islamic scholars and judges. His full name is Abu Abdullah Muhammad ibn Battuta, but the world will simply call him Ibn Battuta. From the very beginning, his world is full of books. His father is a judge, a man of learning and respect. Young Ibn Battuta grows up surrounded by the Quran, by Islam, by stories of great scholars who traveled the world in search of knowledge. In the Islamic tradition of his time, travel was not just adventure. Travel was education. The greatest scholars traveled to the greatest cities. To Cairo. To Mecca. They studied. They learned. They brought knowledge home. And young Ibn Battuta, sitting in his father's library, dreamed of doing the same. He was a good student, a serious young man. He studied Islamic law. He studied Arabic. He studied the Quran. But he also listened to the travelers who came through Tangier. Men who had seen the great mosque in Mecca. Men who had walked the streets of Cairo. Men who had crossed the Sahara Desert. Their stories filled his imagination. And slowly, a dream began to grow inside him. He would travel too. He would see the world with his own eyes, not just read about it in books. When Ibn Battuta was 21 years old, he made his decision. He would go on Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca. Every Muslim who is able must make this journey once in their life. And Ibn Battuta was ready. He said goodbye to his family. His mother cried. His father held his hand. And on the 14th of June, 1325, Ibn Battuta left Tangier. He expected to be gone for 2 months. He was wrong. Part teach li ralo mixca. The journey to Mecca from Morocco was long and difficult. There were no cars. There were only roads and feet. Ibn Battuta joined a caravan, a large group of travelers moving together for safety. Crossing North Africa was dangerous. There were bandits. There were deserts. There were diseases. But there was also something wonderful. Every city he passed through, he stopped. He met scholars. He visited mosques. He listened to teachers. In Tunis, in Indria, and in every city, something happened to Ibn Battuta. He realized that the world was much bigger than his books had told him, and much more beautiful. In Alexandria, he had a dream. In the dream, a great bird picked him up. It flew with him toward the east. Then it flew south. Then it disappeared. Ibn Battuta woke up shaking. He told an old scholar about his dream. The scholar smiled. He said, "You will travel east. You will travel south. You will see the world." Ibn Battuta never forgot those words. He arrived in Cairo, the greatest city in the world at that time. The size of it shocked him. The people, the markets, the mosque. He had never seen anything like it. He wrote in his diary, "I arrived in Cairo, mother of cities, mistress of the world." He wanted to stay. But Mecca was calling. He pushed on. Through the burning deserts of Arabia. Through the heat that turned the air into waves of fire. And finally, after months of travel, he saw it. The city of Mecca. The great black cube at the center of the world's most sacred mosque. Ibn Battuta wept. He had made it. He had completed the Hajj. He had done what he came to do. Now he could go home. But he did not go home. Trte de Cherswiend Ashaka Ndi Evir Wichi Ng standing in Mecca. Ibn Battuta made a decision. A quiet decision. A personal decision. He decided that he was not ready to go home. There was too much to see. There were too many places he had read about and not yet visited. There were too many scholars he had not yet met. So he kept going. He traveled to Medina, to Jerusalem. In Damascus, he studied with the greatest Islamic scholars of his age. He earned qualifications as a judge, a qadi. This was important, because wherever he went, people respected a qadi. Doors opened for him. Sultans invited him to dinner. Governors gave him horses and money. His education became his passport. And with this passport, he kept traveling. He went south into East Africa. He saw the great trading cities of the Swahili coast. Cities of stone and wealth that few people in Morocco even knew existed. Mombasa. Kilwa. He was amazed. These were not the simple African villages that some people imagined. These were sophisticated cities, trading with Arabia, trading with India, trading with China. The world was even bigger than his dream had shown him. He turned north again, toward Persia, toward Raqqa. He walked through the ruins of Baghdad, once the greatest city in the world. But the Mongols had destroyed it 70 years earlier. Ibn Battuta stood in the rubble of what had been the most magnificent library in human history, and he felt deep sadness. But even here, life was returning. People were rebuilding. The human spirit, he noticed, was impossible to destroy completely. Tgildnord Ibn Battuta kept moving north, into the lands of the Golden Horde, the Mongol Empire that controlled the steppes of Central Asia. This was dangerous territory. Cold, vast, unforgiving. But Ibn Battuta was not afraid. He traveled with a caravan of merchants and soldiers, and he arrived at the camp of the great Khan, the ruler of the Golden Horde, who had converted to Islam. Ibn Battuta was welcomed. He sat at the table of one of the most powerful rulers on earth. He ate, he talked, he observed, and he wrote everything down. Because this was the other great thing about Ibn Battuta. He was not just a traveler. He was a witness. He recorded everything he saw, the food people ate, the clothes they wore, the laws they followed, the customs they practiced. He was, in many ways, the world's first great travel writer. In the Khan's camp, Ibn Battuta met a princess. One of the Khan's wives was pregnant. She wanted to return to her home city, Constantinople, to give birth. The Khan gave permission, and Ibn Battuta joined the royal party. For the first time in his life, he entered a Christian city. Constantinople was magnificent. The great Hagia Sophia, the palaces, the markets. He walked through streets where almost nobody was Muslim, where the language was Greek, where the churches had bells instead of minarets. He was fascinated. He wrote about everything, not with judgment, but with curiosity. This was the mark of a true traveler, not to judge, but to observe, to understand. Ibn Battuta had heard stories about India, a land of spices and elephants, of extraordinary wealth and ancient wisdom. He wanted to see it. So he traveled east, through Afghanistan, through the mountain passes of the Hindu Kush, through landscapes so beautiful they took his breath away, and so dangerous they almost took his life. His caravan was attacked by bandits. He was separated from his companions. For days, he wandered alone in the mountains, without food, without water, without direction. He survived. We do not know exactly how, but he survived, and he arrived in India. At the court of the Sultan of Delhi, Muhammad bin Tughlaq. This sultan was one of the most extraordinary men Ibn Battuta ever met. He was brilliant, and he was terrifying. He could be extraordinarily generous and extraordinarily cruel, sometimes on the same day. The sultan liked Ibn Battuta immediately. He made him a qadi, a judge of Delhi. Ibn Battuta was now an important man in one of the richest cities in the world. He had a salary, a house, servants. He had arrived. But life under Muhammad bin Tughlaq was never simple. The sultan's moods changed like weather. Men who were honored in the morning could be executed by evening. Ibn Battuta walked carefully. He served the sultan well. He judged cases fairly. he survived. For 7 years, he lived in India. It was the longest he stayed anywhere in his entire journey. And then, the Sultan gave him a new mission. He would go to China as the Sultan's ambassador. Atca, Ibn Battuta prepared for the journey to China. He loaded ships with gifts for the Chinese emperor. Gold, fabric, precious stones. Everything was ready. He went to the shore to watch the ships depart. He would travel on a smaller boat and meet the main ships further down the coast. Then the storm came, a massive storm. The great ships, with all the gifts, were destroyed, smashed against the rocks. Everything was lost. The elephants drowned. The gold sank. The fabric was ruined. Ibn Battuta stood on the shore and watched it all disappear. He had nothing. He could not return to Delhi. The Sultan would be furious. He could not go to China. He had no gifts for the emperor. He was stranded. Alone. With nothing. This was one of the lowest moments of his journey. But Ibn Battuta did what Ibn Battuta always did. He kept moving. He traveled south through India to the Maldive Islands, tiny jewels of land in the middle of the Indian Ocean. There, he was appointed as a judge again. He even married. He had children. But the sea was calling him. China was still calling him. And eventually, he answered. Theedg Sof World Ibn Battuta sailed to China. He arrived in the great Chinese port cities, Guangzhou, Hangzhou, Beijing. He was amazed. China was the most organized country he had ever seen. The markets, the porcelain, the silk. He wrote, China is the most beautiful country in the world for the traveler. In every city, he found Muslim communities, merchants who had come from Arabia and Persia and India, trading, living, building mosques. The world was more connected than most people realized. Ibn Battuta sat in a mosque in the middle of China, and he listened to the Quran being recited. The same words he had heard in Tangier as a boy. The same words he had heard in Mecca, in Delhi, in Constantinople. The same words, spoken in a completely different world. And something moved inside him. He had been traveling for over 20 years now. He had walked further than any human being in recorded history. He had seen things that most people could not even imagine. And yet, these simple words from the Quran made him feel at home. Wherever he went, he was never truly lost, because he carried his home inside him. Finally, Ibn Battuta decided it was time to go home. He was in his 40s now. His body was tired. His feet had walked across deserts and mountains and jungles and steppes. He had crossed the Indian Ocean. He had crossed the Black Sea. He had crossed the Sahara. He turned west, back through India, back through Persia, back through Arabia. He stopped in Mecca again, his second Hajj, then west across North Africa. He was almost home. But even now, he could not stop exploring. He heard about the Black Death, the terrible plague that was destroying Europe and Asia. He saw its devastation firsthand. Cities empty, roads, the dead uncounted. He kept moving. Through Egypt, through Tunisia, through Algeria, and finally, after 29 years, after 75,000 miles, after 44 countries, after meeting hundreds of rulers and scholars and saints and ordinary people, Ibn Battuta came home to Tangier. His parents were dead. His childhood friends were old men. The city had changed. And he had changed more than anything. He was no longer the 21-year-old boy who had left for a 2-month journey. He was something else entirely. He was a witness to the world. Partni Tichi Boka, the Sultan of Morocco, heard that Ibn Battuta had returned. He summoned him to court. He wanted to know everything. "Tell me what you saw," the Sultan said. And Ibn Battuta began to talk. He talked for days. The Sultan was amazed. He commanded his royal secretary, a scholar named Ibn Juzai, to write it all down. They worked together for 2 years. And the result was one of the most extraordinary books ever written, which simply means the journey. In it, Ibn Battuta described everything, every city. He described the court of the Mali Empire in West Africa. He described the frozen steppes of Russia. He described the markets of Constantinople and the temples of India and the harbors of China. No single person had ever seen so much of the world, and no single person had ever recorded it so carefully. The Rihla is one of our most important historical documents, because Ibn Battuta went to places that no other medieval writer described. He is sometimes our only written source for certain cities and kingdoms of the 14th century. Without Ibn Battuta, we would know almost nothing about some parts of the medieval world. THEMIRORND, my friend. Think about what Ibn Battuta did. He was 21 years old. He had no map of the world, no phone. He had only his faith, his education, and his courage. And he walked 75,000 miles, across deserts that killed men, across oceans that swallowed ships, across mountains that had no paths. He did not do it for money. He did not do it for power. He did it because he was curious, because he believed that the world was worth seeing, because he believed that every person he met had something to teach him. And he was right. Every sultan taught him something about power. Every scholar taught him something about knowledge. Every ordinary person, the merchants, the sailors, the farmers, taught him something about life. He collected people the way other men collected gold, and he was richer for it. Today, when you are learning English, you are doing something Ibn Battuta understood deeply. You are opening a door. English is not just a language, it is a key to conversations with people from every country on earth, a key to books and ideas and opportunities that exist in no other language. Every English word you learn is another mile on your journey. Every lesson is another city visited. Every story you understand is another door opened. Ibn Battuta did not know where his journey would take him. He thought he was going for 2 months. He was gone for 29 years. And he saw the entire world. Your journey in English may surprise you too. You may not know where it will take you, but keep going. Keep walking. Because the world, as Ibn Battuta showed us, is so much bigger and more beautiful than we can imagine. And it is waiting for you. Thank you so much for traveling with Timeless English today. If this story moved you, please give it a like. Share it with someone who loves history, or with someone who is learning English. Subscribe, because next week we have another extraordinary story waiting for you. I will see you very soon, my friend. Keep learning. Keep listening. Keep walking. The road is long, and it is beautiful.